So I hear something coming down on his property, and I hear the screaming, and I'm listening to the Yankee game, and I'm listening to this screaming, and I'm like, what the hell is coming down? Whatever chasing it is taking trees down. It sounds like a bulldozer. And I start to walk over to the edge of my property, and I hear like claws climbing up the brick wall. I see this raccoon climb up, and it jumps up onto this tree. Now, the tree it jumped on, small tree, maybe 6 inches in diameter, not really big. So I got the flashlight. I'm following this raccoon up the tree, and it's screaming like bloody murder. And then all of a sudden, I see this black shape come down to the fire pit. So it's got its back to me, and it's walking the tree down backwards, right? It's pulling the tree down. So now I turn the flashlight on it, and I can see it's a Dogman.
Welcome back to the Eye of Jupiter. I'm your host, Tom Franklin, and this week we got him back, guys. He's back on again. The wonderful, the incredible good friend of mine, Al Santariga from the Bronxville Paranormal Society. He's got a new encounter he wants to talk to us about, and we're going to get into some other things. If you keep coming back to the Eye of Jupiter, please do me a favor. Like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment, tell your friends, your family. Go over on Spotify, wherever you get your MP3s. Go ahead and leave me a rating. And if you want to become a member and get some extra episodes early or any extended episodes over 1 hour, you can do that as well. All links in the description, also for Al as well. So let's welcome him back to the show, guys. Al Santariga.
Hey, Tom, how you doing? Thanks for having me, brother. It's good to be here.
It's always a pleasure, man. It's always a pleasure. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been laying low. I haven't really done a lot of interviews in a long time, just chilling out and just, taking in the family life and stuff like that and working around the house and, getting my shit together. Other than that, just kind of, I'm getting ready to get started again. I was talking to Chris Reinhardt, and he's itching to go out too. I'm itching to go out, and talking to a few other people that want to start getting into it. You know what I mean? Investigating and stuff, and they're looking to come out as well. So I told Chris I'd like to go out at least 4 times this year, and he's going to come down to my locations. I'm going to go up to his locations, and should be a very interesting thing,
Absolutely, man. I mean, I think the season starts for like October, doesn't it? Where like the leaves fall down a little bit. It's not so hot.
But I want to go out in the spring, summer, winter, and fall this year. I like to hit it 4 times. I was supposed to do a ghost investigation at a 150-year-old Mason Lodge a couple weeks ago, and talked to my partner Brian Bowden. He's up from Florida, and I told him, why don't we go there, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, yeah, and we both planned on going. And then I hurt my back. And so I gave my ticket to a friend of mine that I work with. And then Brian had issues with his car, so he didn't go either. So neither one of us went, but I was itching to get out there as well, but yeah, it's I've been laying low. I did another investigation, and it felt like it was like an abandoned home for children and stuff. Okay. And it felt like the energy there. It felt like the energy there was children. It was a millionaire's home, and then it became something to do with the church. The church owned it, and then the state owned it and made it a orphanage or something like that. But it felt like the only people there were the children, and it felt like they were hiding from us all night. It just felt like their energy, like they didn't know what we were doing, and they were confused and stuff like that. And we had some stuff. We got some and some of the instruments to light up and stuff like that. But nothing really to write home about. I didn't even post anything on it on the BPS page or anything, because it just felt like the first time there, they didn't know what was going on and they were hiding from us. And I think once, if we get to go back there more often, I think we'll have a lot more success there. But recently we got 2 black bears living in my backyard up in the woods, right? I got 100 acres of woods in the back of the house. I got another 100 acres of wetland across the street. And the guy who owns the property behind me has trail cams up in the woods. And he's good friends with my son-in-law and with my cousin. And he's telling them, yeah, we got black bears roaming around up there all the time now. I mean, last summer, I had one at my back door looking to come in. So anyway, I was getting ready. It was early May. I was getting ready to cut the grass. And I was doing like the winter cleanup, right? Picking up all the sticks and shit that fell on the lawn. Don't want to drive over with the lawnmower. And I got a fire pit, big fire pit. It's 6 feet in diameter. But the town had a no burning thing going on at the time, right? So I said, well, it's not like I'm burning in a burn barrel. I didn't say anything about not having any fire pits, if I want to make s'mores or whatever, right? So I threw all the sticks and everything into the fire pit. And my neighbors to the right of me, a young couple, they go back down to where they moved up from on the weekends to hang out with their friends. And my other neighbor on the other side of me, he races. He's got a dragster. He races the weekend up at the track. So I didn't have anybody that could actually see what I was doing. So I said, you know what? This would be a good time to burn. I'll go out there one night, Saturday night when everybody's away, and I'll burn all this crap up, and nobody will know any better. So I'm out there. I got my pistol grip shotgun with me because I got these 2 black bears running around, and I didn't have the yard set up with any of the tiki torches or the light over the gazebo. I didn't even have the bug lights up or anything, it was just real early in the season. So I'm sitting out there and I got the fire going. I got the hose next to the fire pit. I'm sitting on the deck. I'm listening to the Yankee game, on the radio. And I hear screaming coming out of the woods, like this crazy screaming that I've never heard before in my life. And I was like, what the hell is this noise? And I hear it coming down the hill. Now, my yard, I have 2 yards. I have an immediate backyard, then I have a far backyard. And my neighbor's yard is a little further back than mine because of my immediate backyard. So I can't really, from where I'm sitting, I can't see what's going on at the furthest point of his backyard. He's got like a 10-foot long, it's like in the shape of a C, 6-foot high cinder block wall that he uses as a fire pit.
Okay.
And he takes all the ashes and he dumps them behind the wall when he's done. So I hear something coming down on his property. Now, there's not a lot of foliage left, not a lot of foliage yet on either one of our properties. The woods are still kind of barren. And I hear the screaming, and I'm listening to the Yankee game, and I'm listening to this screaming, and I'm like, what the hell is coming down? So whatever running down the hill, something is chasing it, because whatever chasing it is taking trees down. It sounds like a bulldozer. So on the end of my pistol grip shotgun, I have 100 Luma flashlight. Okay. So I put the flashlight on the gun, I turn it on, and I start to walk over to the edge of my property, and I hear like claws climbing up the brick wall. So I put the flashlight on my neighbor's brick wall to see what the hell is going up the wall. And I see this raccoon climb up, and it jumps up onto this tree. Now, the tree it jumped on, small tree, maybe 6 inches in diameter, not really big, straight up. It goes straight up. So I got the flashlight. I'm following this raccoon up the tree, and it's screaming like bloody murder. And I don't see anything yet. And then all of a sudden, I see this black shape come down to the fire pit. And it's standing, it's above my neighbor's firewall, which is 6 feet high, right? Now, I don't know if it's standing on all the ash my neighbor's been throwing back there for 30 years. So I can't really get a good judge on how tall this thing is. I'm going to say it was at least 6 feet tall. So it's got its back to me, and it's walking the tree down backwards, right? It's pulling the tree down, but it's walking it down. So now I turn the flashlight on it, and I can see it's a Dogman. Dogman is in my neighbor's backyard going after this raccoon, and it doesn't see me yet because it had its back to me as it was pulling the tree down. It spins around to face the raccoon because now it's got the tree arched over, right?
Right.
And it turns around to face the raccoon, and I hit it with the flashlight right in the face. Now the thought of shooting this thing never crossed my mind. Okay. As a matter of fact, I remember saying to myself, don't point the gun at it. But at the same time, I'm saying that to myself. I got the flashlight at the end of the gun. I'm pointing it at it, right? And then, then that reality, that wakes up. I wake me up and I say, how could I not point the gun at it? I got the flashlight on it. And for some reason, and I don't know how this happened, the thought thing, I chambered around. My arm chambered around without my brain telling it to. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Again, I don't know why I went like this. I don't know. And as soon as I chambered around, this thing looked at me. Like when it first seen me, it looked at me like it was shocked. Like, where did you come from?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I chambered around, it let the tree go. And I thought that tree was going to go straight up in the air and that raccoon was going to go flying. But the tree never went back up. It stayed in that arch. It must have really damaged that tree badly when it was pulling it down. Okay. Which surprised the shit out of me because I thought for sure that raccoon was going to go flying like 3 yards over. Right. And then it looked at me after I let go of the tree and it started to run back up the hill the way it came. And I ran over to the firewall where my neighbor's yard is, and I'm looking at it I'm watching it run up the hill with the 100 luma flashlight on it, and it did something that the thought never crossed my mind. It did. It started to serpentine up the hill, and I'm thinking, what am I seeing here? This thing is serpentining up the hill.
Do you mean it's on its belly?
No, I mean it's on its 2 legs running, but it's running like this.
Okay.
It's going from left to right to left to right. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I watching here? This thing is serpentine. I've never heard of in all the years I've been studying this stuff and all the times I've ran into these creatures, I've never seen one run. I've seen one run straight up the hill before, but I've never seen one serpentine. And I'm looking at this, and it's like everything is happening in slow motion. Okay, like time is standing still, and I'm trying to wrap my brain around what I just seen. I think I've never seen a Dogman serpentine before. I've never heard anybody else say that, And
Either
all
have I.
the years I've been listening to podcasts and researching and talking to other Dogman researchers, talking to Jody Cook. I asked Jody. Jody said he's never heard that before. Never. And so now it leaves. I'm in a fog. I walk back to the fire pit. I put the fire out with the hose. I'm like, I'm done out here tonight. I leave the hose. I don't even roll the hose up. I just leave the hose by the fire pit. I shut the radio off. I bring the radio and I go inside and I unload the gun because now I got one in the chamber, right?
Correct.
I unload the gun and I'm sitting there. I got the gun on the couch and I'm sitting there and I'm trying to wrap my mind around what just happened. You know what I mean? Dogman is chasing a raccoon down the hill. Raccoon is screaming like I've never heard anything scream before in my life. We got foxes back here. I have a whole jungle in my backyard, and I've never heard what that raccoon was doing. Foxes make some weird noise too,
True.
really weird, and even the bobcats and stuff. But I've never heard that raccoon scream like that. So I'm sitting in the couch. I didn't even put the Yankee game back on when I went inside. I put like YouTube on or something, right? I don't even know what I was watching because I'm still trying to wrap my mind about what I just seen. A dogman in my backyard, a dogman serpentine up the hill. So not to get shot. Like, how does it know to do this? And I'm still trying to figure out, why did my arm load the gun? I never gave it. My brain never said load the gun. You know what I mean? The thought never came into my mind that I was going to shoot it. I wasn't planning on shooting anything. The only reason I had the gun was for the black bears I have in my yard. And I figured if one comes in the yard, I'll just put a round over its head into the trees and it'll run away,
Right.
But like never expecting to see that. My wife comes out of the bedroom. She's in the bedroom watching TV. She comes out. She goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "No, nothing's wrong with me." She goes, "Yeah, something's wrong with you." And I'm like, "No, nothing's wrong with me." And I'm in denial. Like, "No, nothing's wrong with me." She's like, "Okay, whatever." And she goes on her merry way. And I'm putting the gun away. I'm putting the, safety on the gun, the trigger lock and all that crap, and putting it back in this case and putting the bullets in the whatchamacallit, the holder and everything. And the whole night I just sat there on the couch trying to wrap my mind around, why did my arm load the gun without me telling it to load the gun?
Mhm.
And why did this thing how did this thing know to serpentine? Like I said, this thing was only, I'm going to say it was only 60. So then I went over to the wall and I took pictures. The next day I went over to the wall and I took pictures of my neighbor's fire pit and the tree, because the tree never went back up. I mean, now slowly and gradually it's climbing, but even now, a month later, right, 2 months later, it's still at like 50% of an arch. You know what I mean? Where before it was like, 75. So I don't think the tree's ever going back up. Whatever it did when it yanked it down, it must have really screwed it up on the inside,
Yeah.
Because it was a young sapling. It was only 6 inches in circumference, you know what I mean, diameter. So just weird shit. And I talked to Jody about it, and Jody's like, "No, I never heard that." And I've reached out to a bunch of other Dogman people, and no one has ever heard of a Dogman, serpentine and when it actually ran away.
It might have been like just a natural reflex, man. You're out there, this thing's in front of you, you got it in your hand, you just click it. You know what I mean? It's just
that's what Jody. Jody said it was probably what do they call it? Fight or flight kind of thing. Clicked in, and your arms just went like that. He said that's what he thought it was. It was just a natural fight or flight moment, and you chambered around without even thinking about chambering around, And I'm like, I like just think I can't get my mind around that. You know what I mean?
One of these. Didn't you have Al? You found one of these things. Let's go natural on this, man. We don't force anything. One time you told me you found it in the middle of a swampy area, like a nesting area, and
the den,
and he actually followed you to your house.
Yes, we found the den. Yes, and it came to my house twice. Yeah. And now the one I seen last month or in May was half the size of the one that came to my house. You know what I mean? This one was only about 6 feet tall. It didn't have a humongous head. It was skinny, scrawny, probably a juvenile. I don't know. You know what I mean? But here's a kicker. Listen to this now. That raccoon comes back to my house every single night. It comes back to my house and eats the cat food that my wife puts out for the cats and tries to open up my sliding glass door to come in. Same raccoon comes down every single night. every
Yeah,
single
so he's
night.
like a Disney movie. He's like, oh, this guy got this thing away from me, man. Let's go to his house and eat the cat food.
I was telling Jody about it. He started laughing. He goes, yeah, you saved its life. It's, you know, he wants to be your pet now. And I was like, dude, I mean, I just like started showing up, and like everything else shows up in my house for food anyway. My wife feeds everything, but it was just funny that this raccoon literally tries to open the sliding glass door to come in.
Yeah, these cats here at my house I call them terrorists. They just bother you, and there's one that marks the door and it always smells. I go spray it with. Yeah, he's the next one to get clipped once I grab a hold of him. He's hard to get though. I call him Billy, but I don't think that's his name. I don't know what they call him. Yeah. So you wanted to? Yeah. Oh, they have all kind of weird names down here for their cats. We give them like human names, and they'll give them like other names, and it's always weird. And they go, why would you name him that? So, well, I would never name my son or daughter that. So it's a cool name for a cat, Billy. It's funny. So you started the Bronxville Paranormal Society, and then you were telling me that there was a time you took some city slickers out there with you, and you had some interesting things happen to you.
Yeah, the very first time we went to this location where I found the den. We were hiking up the mining road. It's from the mining road to the Appalachian Trail. It's like 2 miles, and we were maybe 3/4 of a mile in, and we found a giant buck up in a tree. I mean, this buck, it had to be 175 pounds if it weighed an ounce. And it was up in a tree. I got pictures of it somewhere. I was up in a tree, but it was like 60 feet up in the tree.
What?
Put in like an arch, like where the tree V's out,
Yeah, right.
It was put in that little crop right there. And I'm looking at this tree, and I'm looking with my friends from the city, and we're all looking. We're all taking pictures of it. And they're like, what the hell did that? A black bear? And I'm like, no. And they're like, black bear, is it a mountain lion? Mountain lion's not carrying something that heavy that high up. You know what I mean? And the tree was shaped like a fireman pole. There was no branches to go from one branch to, you had to literally shimmy all the way up to that fork.
Right.
And once you got to that fork, it forked out. There were branches you could actually climb further out, but there was no branches up to that fork. So I said, whatever carried that thing up there, threw that deer over its shoulder, and then shimmied up that tree and threw this over that fork on that tree for later. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And like at this point, we didn't know there were dogmen in the woods, so we just all assumed it was a Bigfoot and stuff. At least I did. And then we went further down, and right where what I call the area I call the meadow, where the Appalachian Trail comes out to the meadow, and then that leads to the mining road. We found a teepee. But this teepee, again, I got pictures of this teepee somewhere. This teepee was woven with tree limbs that were 6 inches in diameter. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
what's
huge.
Got the strength to weave something that thick in between other branches? And I wanted somebody to go in there because I wanted to get a picture of people in it, but none of my friends would go in it. So I was like, well, I'm going in, you know what I mean? And I went in and I looked around. I didn't smell anything nasty in there. And everybody's saying, no, is it a hunting blind? I said, no, there's no hunting on this land. It's federal land. You can't hunt here. You know what I mean? I said, it's not a hunting blind because just the way it was set up, it wouldn't. The entrance was on the wrong side for it to be a hunting blind. You know what I mean?
Okay, I got you. So the meadow is facing the other direction.
Yeah.
Right.
And when I went in, I looked at the bedding and I seen what it was using for bedding, and I was like, wow, something big is staying in here. You know what I mean? And it was big. I mean, I'm not a little guy, and I had plenty of room. Like I could have slept in that thing, and it looked like it was waterproof and everything, you know. And it had about, I would say, 6 inches of pine needles, like pine branches,
Yeah.
layered on top, but not just layered on top of each other. They were like layered, almost like one here, one here, one. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, to give it like a springy action. You know what I mean?
yes, and
Right.
it was very comfortable because the pine needles were still green. They weren't dried out or anything. They were still green, and it was very thick, and it was very comfortable, very bouncy, and it was layered. And the way they whatever did it layered the branches, and then we went on deeper into the woods, and we found like these stone cairns that look like, you know, Blair Witch kind of stuff. You know what I mean? We had some really crazy, you know, up here in New York and the East Coast, we have these stone walls that run through the woods, you know, just all over the place. And we came to one of them that was running east and west. You know, and everybody's got their theories. It was their farmer markers and this, that, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking some people, well, maybe these were made during the American Revolutions to shoot at the redcoats, you know, all this stuff. And because there's 2 of them that run parallel to one another, and they're like 10 feet in between, you know, the space in between the first and the second one is 10 feet. And I'm thinking, I could see it being a wall for like the revolutionary, you know, shooting at the redcoats, but it wouldn't. Two landowners wouldn't create these walls right next to each other, 10 feet apart, because these things are 4 feet high, 3 feet wide, and they're all stone, layered stone. They're put together to last forever. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
That's a lot of work for a marker, a property marker, you know?
Yeah.
And then we got in the middle of them, because in the middle of them, there was actually like a grassy area. So we all decided to get in the middle of them, and hand to God, all of a sudden, the wind started whipping up, and it got dark, and it got nasty. Like all of a sudden, everybody got this bad vibe, like maybe we're somewhere we're not supposed to be, you know? And it was just like very, very dark energy. And
how long were they out? How long were the walls?
oh, the walls went on for hundreds and hundreds of yards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be like a foundation to some like old house or something.
No.
Okay.
No. And like this little patch of grass was only maybe 10 yards, you know what I mean? 10 yards long and 10 feet wide. And we were all decided to go in there because the sun was shining, and let's go in there and have lunch. Everybody brought a bag lunch, and then all of a sudden it got dark, it got windy, it got nasty, and I'm looking at these little stone cairns, and these cairns are in locations that you can't get to. You got to be like a billy goat to get up on this mountain to make these things. Like, who's building these things? Number one, who's carrying the rocks up these cliff face to build them? You know what I mean?
Right.
It freaked me out. It really did. I mean, I'm like, you have to be a billy goat to get up there, you know? And
if you could ever get the picture of the deer up the tree, I would throw that on the end of here if possible, if you can find them. If not, then
I tried looking for that. I got thousands and thousands of photos. You know what I mean? God only knows where it is.
Yeah, it's always interesting. I can't even imagine seeing one of those things. What does it feel like when you're in your backyard and you all of a sudden you see one of these things? What is that? I mean, I know you're a man, you're a man's man, you always have been, but like when you see that, what does that feel like, man? Could you express to someone to see something that's not supposed to exist?
It's mind-boggling, because you, not in a million years do you expect to even run into these things. You know what I mean? Even me, and all the times I've run into them, every single time I've run into them, they were the furthest thoughts on my mind. You know what I mean? I'm not, you know, even when we found the den that time, I'd expect to find anything in the den. You know what I mean? We didn't know what the hell we were looking for. I was being drawn there, you know? It's just, But no, when you see something like this up close and personal, it's a surreal moment. Your mind just can't wrap your mind around it. Like, yeah, your brain can't comprehend what your eyes are seeing, you know? And and like I said,
is there an amount of fear that you're feeling, or is it just bewilderment?
With me, it's just bewilderment. I don't get fear, you know. My psychic trained me many, many moons ago never to go out with any kind of subconscious fear, because you just put a bullseye on yourself, you know?
Okay, yeah.
So I don't go out if I got a bad vibe about going out. You know, there's been times when I went out in my early days, like when I was 14, 15, with my brother and his crew, you know, and times I wouldn't get out of the car because I just had a bad vibe. Like, no, I'm not going in there. And my brother would say, "What do you mean? You're my cameraman. You're my photographer. You got to come in." And I was like, "Here's the camera. Be my guest." You know. And
love you, buddy, but ain't happening.
I just got a bad vibe. I'm not going in, and that's it. You know, there's no way you can change my mind and going in. You know, and that's happened twice in my life where I've gotten to a location, really excited to get there, and then when I get there, I get such a bad vibe about the location. The time with my brother, it was the Amityville Horror House.
Okay.
And I was seeing shadows running around in the woods at night. Like there was black shadows running from tree to tree.
Well, like across the street or what?
No. The driveway to get to the house is like a quarter mile long. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So you're in, as soon as you get off the main road to go down the driveway, you're in the woods. You know what I mean? The house is built back, and it's, you know, it's a big house, and my brother lived in Amityville, so of course he had to go and investigate the house. You know what I mean? So,
God, yeah.
And I was sleeping. I went there to sleep over for a weekend, so he called the guys he worked with because that's who he went investigated with, and then we all went out. But when I got to that location, and I started seeing shadows running around in the woods, you know what I mean? Not knowing what the hell they were, I just got a bad vibe, and I was like, I'm not getting out of this car. Now, nothing bad happened to them that night, you know what I mean? When they went in, my brother took my cameras, and he's a great photographer too, and he took a lot of great pictures and stuff. And they, you know, they had a lot of evidence. You know, back then we're going with old school stuff, dowsing rods, quartz crystal pendulums, the old cassette tapes, you know what I mean, for EVPs and stuff.
Oh,
This is back in the day, you know. And
what started you down this path of doing this, Al? I mean,
my brother was
your brother got you into it.
He's a parapsychologist, and we used to work with Han Holzer's right-hand man. That's how he got started, working with Han Holzer's right-hand man. And then, you know, his bedroom was a library of paranormal books, from, you know, cryptids to UFOs to ghosts. You know? So as soon as he finished reading something, I read it, you know.
That's incredible, man. That you get. It's so cool that you have somebody you can even now bounce ideas off of or thoughts off of, someone that you trust and that's been doing it for a long time. That must be a bit of, like, you know, saving grace sometimes. I'm sure there's moments for even seeing that thing, even if you go in, you know, I have military training, and you go in there, you still see it. You're just like, man, I would be bewildered, but I do think there's a part of me that would be afraid. And I would imagine having somebody that's in your family that has, you know, experiences like yourself. What was your first experience, man? What was that like?
Oh God, my very first paranormal experience was when I was like 5. My grandmother, who lived with us, passed away, and I got her room.
Okay.
And I'm sleeping in her bed, on her pillows and her sheets. And the funeral parlor was across the street from the building we lived in. Okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And so we would go to the funeral. Back then, you would do 2 showings a day for like 3 days. You know what I mean? And so I would go there, see my grandmother in the casket, and, you know, hang out with all my cousins, because everybody lived in the same neighborhood. It was like the whole neighborhood was related, you know, it's from the same town in Italy, you know. And
yeah, buddy.
Yeah, and then I would go home, and they would put me to bed because I was the youngest. And my grandmother would come to me. She looked just like she did when she was alive. She would come to me, she'd tuck me in, she'd give me a kiss goodnight, and then she would just fade out. And I couldn't tell my father about it because my father didn't believe in anything paranormal, even though he seen a ghost run through the engine block of his car. He wouldn't admit to it. So I told my mother, because she was a psychic, and my mother said, yeah, it's just, your grandmother, she's just making sure you're all right and everything. And she would tell me in Italian,
you speak Italian? I didn't know that.
Well, I at 5 years old, I kind of just understood it more than I spoke it.
Oh yeah, that's normal.
Yeah,
that's normal.
But she would just tell me, you sleep good in my bed, sweet dreams, yada yada yada. And she came to me for like 3 nights in a row, and I would tell my mother, and she would say, yeah, it's just your grandmother, don't worry, she's just checking up on you, making sure you're okay, bada bada boop. And that's it, because I was the baby, I was the youngest out of my father and his 2 sisters' kids. I was the baby, so she was just, she loved me the most because I was the baby, I guess. I don't know, she lived with us and everything. But so that was the very first experience, that I had with as a young kid and everything. But getting back to now, that the first time we went out into the woods with all the guys from the city,
right?
It was a daytime thing, So I said, man, we need to come back at night and do a nighttime thing, But
a lot younger back then, a little bit more muscles to flex. Yeah, I got you.
So I said, oh God, yeah, it was a long time ago. And I was like, let's go back at night. And everybody's like, yeah, let's go back at night. So we couldn't go in to the location the way we do during the day, because there's a ranger station there, and the park is closed at night, and you can't get past the ranger station. They got invisible eyes, they got dogs, you know what I mean? You just can't get past them. They'll come out and they'll track you down and make you leave the park. But you can take the Appalachian Trail in, okay? But to get to, like, say, what we call the campsite at our location, which is only maybe 1.5 miles in the main trail. To get there from the Appalachian Trail, it's like a 4-mile hike. Okay. So we decided we were going to do the 4-mile hike. We wanted to get there at night. We were all determined to get there. So I went out and I scouted a way in, and I scouted the way in, and I was like, okay, I know how to go. And we went, and I had one guy up front. This guy O'Neill. He was a younger kid, and he was like, "I'll do point." And I was like, "Okay." And I had this other kid, Anthony, at the back, because those 2 guys were like the most, as far as veterans as investigating. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And at one point, I had O'Neill move to the middle, and I took point. And we were going up. We're going up this Appalachian Trail. We're going up this, like, it was like a goat trail, man. Everybody in single file. That's how wide it was, right? And we're going up the trail. We had a couple of women with us who worked with us, that came out with us. They were into the paranormal. And we're going up this goat trail. And, man, we're like 2 miles in. And it's a hot, humid night. Everybody's sweating bullets. And there's a holler to the right of us, a deep holler to our right. And there's a higher ridge to our left. So we're going up the trail, and I got a million. At that time, I had a 1,000,000 luma flashlight, candle, not a luma, 1,000,000 candle watt flashlight.
Okay.
And I was at point, and all of a sudden, we sit down on the trail. Somebody says, "Let's sit here and get a water break." I said, "Okay." Nobody noticed but me. Right above where we decided to sit, there was a branch that was broken and twisted. Okay. And it was broken this way, but twisted this way, which was the same direction as the trail, Right.
Important.
So I was like, okay, this is a directional, So we're all sitting there, And Anthony comes up from behind and he says, "I'll take a walk. I want to talk to you." I said, "All right, what's up, man?" He says, "I think we're being followed." So what do you mean? He says, "I think there's something down in the hollow follows. I hear footsteps down in the hollow and it's following us." And I was like, "Yeah, I heard them too, but I didn't say nothing to them. I don't want to freak anybody out, because we're in such a narrow pass and we're up on a cliff. And I don't want anybody to try to run and fall off the cliff." And then O'Neill comes up to me, says, "I'll take a walk." I was like, "What's up?" He's like, I was using the flashlight, the million candle watt flashlight, and I'm scanning the higher ridge to our left. I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Seen eye shine up there." I was like, "Okay. How, what was it?" He said, it was red eye shine. He said, "Owl," but it was like at the 7-foot level. I said, "Maybe an owl in a tree?" He goes, "Owl, I think we're being followed." And I said, "O'Neill, I think we're being followed on both sides of us." I said, "I think there's something down in the hollow, and I think there's something up on the ridge. And I think these two creatures are hunting, and we're in between them. We're in the way." All of a sudden, we're all sitting there. And again, I haven't told anybody anything except for O'Neill and Anthony. They're the two guys that I'm telling, because I don't want to freak everybody else. Everybody else who's with me, all of these guys are city folks. They're not used to being in the woods, deep woods at night. You know what I mean? With just headlamps and, what you would call it, 10-inch survival knives and stuff. So we're just sitting there. And a smell comes up from the holler and just engulfs us. I mean, it was putrid. I mean, everybody was like, "Oh man, what is that smell?" That nobody knows what's going on but me. I know that smell. I remember from a kid in Florida. You know what I mean? Okay. I know what's going on. And I'm thinking, "Oh crap, this is a warning. It's telling us to get the hell out of the way. We're in between these two things, So I was like, we got to move." Okay, so now we're moving. We get to the peak and we start to come down on the other side, and we got to cross over a swamp and go down another trail to finally get to the mining road that comes out right by the campsite. So we come down the hill. And as we're coming down the hill, there's a pack of coyotes that go off. There's like 30 coyotes, and they're whooping and they're running around in circles. And they're in the swamp. You can hear them splashing around, and they're all around us. And the sound is just surrounded us, and everybody's freaking out. And I'm like, "Whatever you do, don't run. Don't run. Don't run. You don't want to trigger their prey drive. Everybody stick together. Where there's a lot of us, they're not going to attack like 8 people. You know what I mean? Everybody stay together." So we're all huddled up in a circle, and we got the lights on, and they're running around us, and they're just losing their minds, and they're whooping, and they're the size of German Shepherds. They're the biggest coyotes I've ever seen, right? All of a sudden, from out of the darkness, you hear 2 things running. Boom, 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 running. One coming down the ridge, one coming up the holler as fast as they can. Just like sound like thunder coming at us from both sides, right? Like Clydesdales, right? And then they start grabbing the coyotes, and they're smashing the coyotes against the trees. And they're slamming the coyotes to the ground. And the coyotes are screaming and they're whooping. Now the coyotes are running in every possible direction to get away. These 2 Bigfoot came down and were so pissed at us for being in the way because they were hunting. They took it out on the coyotes.
Jesus, dude.
Now, when this happens, all hell breaks loose, and my friends just take off in the swamp. They're running south because that's the way the car is parked, to the south. They're running through the swamp. They're running through the trees. They're not on any kind of path. They're just running. And I'm screaming, "Stop, stop, stop. Don't run, don't run, don't run." Nobody's listening to me. Everybody's running like bat out of hell. All of a sudden, I look up, and there's a coyote running right at me. Big boy. He's like, looked like my German Shepherd, right? But he's not looking at me. He's looking behind him. But he's running full speed, and he runs into me, and he sends me flying. Okay, he goes flying one way. I go for now. I'm headed head first towards this giant oak tree. I move my head out of the way just in the nick of time, and I hit it with my shoulder, and I dislocate my shoulder. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm in some serious pain. And I look over at the coyote, and he's getting up, and he's running. He gets up, and he continues to run. And I'm in pain, and all of my friends are gone. I'm the only one there. So I'm like, okay, I got to put my shoulder back in. So I lean against the tree, and I bang it back in. Boom. And that hurt just as much as it did when it came out. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So I'm walking through the woods trying to find all my friends. And I come across a tent in the middle of the woods. And it's a young couple, hiking the Appalachian Trail. You can't camp on the trail, but you can camp off the trail. And they're in the middle of the woods, maybe 100 yards off the trail in the middle of the woods. There was no reason for anybody to find these people, but I come up on them, right? And they hear me coming. So the guy opens up the tent and he's like, what's going on out here? It sounds like the woods are insane. And I go, listen. I was like, the coyotes are going crazy. They're just running around in a circle, just going crazy. I don't know what's made them nuts, but just zip her up. He goes, should I pack the tent and get the hell out of here? I said, just close the tent up and go back to sleep. They're not going to bother you. Believe me, they're not going to bother you. You know what I mean? They're running for. I'm not telling them why they're running. Yeah, but I'm telling you, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I don't think anyone's going to mess with you tonight. Don't worry about the coyotes. So I get out to the main road. I hike up to where we parked our cars. Everybody's there. Everybody made it out in one piece. Nobody got hurt. And I'm telling them, yeah, I dislocated my shoulder. I can't lift my arm up, this high. And so everybody's like, okay, let's call it a night. It was a pretty crazy night. We were maybe 200 yards from getting to that main mining road. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's how close we were. And if everybody would have stayed, we could have continued to go. But everybody ran back towards where the cars were parked, And I was like, I'm not hiking 4 miles back in again. You know what I mean? We're done now. And everybody gets in the cars. And I go to grab my driver's side door. I'm driving a Jeep at the time. I got a pretty heavy door on the Jeep. I go to grab the door to close it, and I go to pull it closed, and my shoulder comes out again. And I'm like, oh, shit, So now I got to leave. And everybody's like, the guys that were in my car, because you could only park like 3 or 4 cars at this location. So the way everybody came up, everybody parked at the park and ride that's off the parkway. So we were driving everybody back to their cars because everybody came up from different directions, So they're like, Al, you want me to get that door for you? And I was like, no, I'll get this door. And I closed it with my shoulder, and then I banged it up against the chair, my seat, and I snapped it back in. You know what I mean? And I got it back into place again. And I was like, now I got to go home and tell my wife I need to go to the emergency room because I can't lift my arm, I get home. Man. It's like 2:00 in the morning. I get home. I wake my wife up and I go, listen, there was an accident and I had an accident. I need to go to the emergency room. Went to the emergency room. They said, yeah, you dislocated your shoulder. And I had to go to physical therapy for 2 months or whatever because I couldn't get my arm any higher than level with my shoulder. And good thing at the time, all I was doing was driving a truck. So I could still drive. I didn't have to carry any mail on my shoulder or anything. You know what I mean?
Oh, you were a mailman.
Yeah, I was humping mail from door to door. In the city, you go from house to house. But at that point, I was driving a truck, just dropping mail off, and doing packages, and I could do that with one arm. So I was able to do that, and without my bosses knowing I was injured, and still
how would you
make it through.
explain it to them?
Yeah, I don't think they would have believed me if I explained it to them what happened. But everybody who was in that office knew what happened because they were all there,
Oh, so I imagine it's the last time you decided to take people from the city up into the deep woods to go, look for these things.
But I went back like 2 weeks later, right? Because I wanted to get more photographs. I wanted to see if the deer was still there, if there was a carcass there or something, I went back 2 weeks later by myself. And I went to the tree where the deer was hanging, and it wasn't there anymore. And I went to the location at the meadow where the teepee was.
Right.
And the teepee was gone. And I'm looking around, and I'm thinking, okay, if the Rangers got rid of this teepee, they're just going to cut it up with a chainsaw and throw it into the woods. You know what I mean? They're not going to take it away. I wouldn't think they would dismantle it and take it away. I think they would just cut it up with a chainsaw and throw it in the woods.
Right.
But when I went back that couple of weeks later, where the teepee was, the woods were destroyed. I mean, destroyed. Like Godzilla and King Kong had a fight in the woods. The woods were, and I took all kinds of pictures of that, and on my way out, I called my psychic and I said, "What happened here?" And she's like, "Al, I'm feeling," she's telling me the energy she feels, because everything has an energy signature, And she says, right. I'm feeling that a Dogman and a Bigfoot had a war here. There was a war here. And because the woods were just destroyed. It wasn't like it was a micro burst where everything was leaning one way, right, or it was a tornado and stuff was thrown off. It was just destroyed. I mean, the woods were, even the trail, the Appalachian Trail, was blocked by trees that were like 6 feet in diameter. That's how big these trees were. I mean, giant trees pushed over, and she's telling me a Dogman and a Bigfoot, and I was like, I didn't even know there was a Dogman in these woods. I've never heard of any reports of Dogmen. I've heard of UFOs, Bigfoots, and stuff like that, but I never heard of any Dogman. You know what I mean? And she's like, yeah, there's Dogmen in these woods, and they had a big fight. And she's telling me the Dogmen stay on the east side of the woods and the Bigfoot stay on the west side of the woods. And this was like on the west side of the woods. So maybe they were both at the same location at the same time. And they were like, no, the Bigfoot's like, no, not in my house. You know what I mean? And they just absolutely destroyed the woods. But I looked for, the woods were so destroyed that there weren't any trees cut, like the Appalachian Trail that were blocked. The Rangers hadn't even cut the trees off the trail yet to open them back up.
Right.
But the whatchamacallit was gone. The teepee was gone. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking in the woods for small pieces of logs that were just thrown all over the place. And there was nothing there. I mean, whoever took that thing down dismantled it and took it away. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they didn't just cut it up and throw
it. Like a nomadic people, somewhere in, like Asia or something. They would just take their teepees, wrap them up, and go to the next area. That's a strange occurrence.
But I mean, who has the strength to unwind those logs? Yeah. Number one, and I was even looking for like chainsaw dust, you know what I mean? Like
right.
the shavings, and there was no chainsaw. I'm thinking this thing wasn't cut down by a chainsaw because there's no wood anywhere, like not even chainsaw cuts on the floor, nothing. It wasn't dragged out of here because there's no drag marks. What would they do with it? You know what I mean? Did they pick it up and put it on a flatbed truck and drive it out? I honestly don't know what they did. But on the way out, the ranger was out at the station, and I asked him, and I was like, "Hey, man, what the hell happened to the woods?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, the woods are destroyed. At the end of the mining road where the Appalachian Trail starts, the woods are destroyed." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "The woods are destroyed." I go, "Was there a tornado that hit down?" And he's like, "No." I go, "Was there some kind of microburst that happened?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Well, I got to see what you're talking about, because there's a gate there." He went and he unlocked the gate, and then he drove up to the where the meadow is, But I was like, "Yeah, I'm not waiting around for this dude." And I just went home, because
Okay.
he didn't even know. He didn't even know the woods were destroyed.
I could imagine his report. He has to write some type of report about some type of large disturbance.
Yeah, I mean, like, if something like a tornado or a microburst happened, it's only a mile and a half from the ranger station. I think they would have known about it, Yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't know, but he didn't even know about it. He's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Take a ride up to the end of the road and you'll see what I'm talking about." I mean, it was just and it's still hasn't grown back to this point yet, because it was so destroyed that the woods haven't even bounced back yet,
Yeah. Shit, Al, this is you always come on here and blow my mind, man. You're just you're that kind of guy, man. You don't hold back. You tell me the truth. You always been a straight shooter with me, man. I love the fact that you do that for me. And I've always
I do
been.
that. It's just who I
Yeah,
am,
I know, buddy.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And I love your New Yorkness to you. You're like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, dude, I got you. I know what you're saying.
That's just who I am, brother. You know what I mean?
So you're going out again this year, man. I'm looking forward to hearing about what you're running into, man. Where can people find you, buddy?
You can find me at the Bronxville Paranormal Society. We have a bunch of groups that I'm head of. The New York State UFO Project, the New York State Sasquatch Organization, the New York State Dogman Project. You can find me at any of those things. You can just find me on Facebook personally. I'm very accessible. If you shoot me a messenger, a message on Messenger, I'll get back to you. I try to get back to everybody. As a matter of fact, I had a young couple reach out to me recently. Blew my mind. They reached out to me and they said, "Hey," the guy calls me up, right? And he's like, "Hey, I'm getting married to my fiance. We're getting married, and we're really big fans of the paranormal, and we're really big fans of you." And I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Could you do me a favor?" And I was like, "Sure. What do you need?" And he's like, "Could you call me on this day? And I want to put my fiance on the phone with you." And I'm like, "Sure, I'll call you." Right. So I call him up, and he goes, "Hon, it's for you." And he gives her the phone, and she's like, "Hello." And I go, "Hi, is this what?" I forgot her name. And she goes, "Yeah." I go, "Hi, this is Al Santariga." She's like, she starts screaming, "Oh my God, oh my God." And then they put themselves on FaceTime, or FaceTiming each other. And that was like, they were like so thrilled that like I actually called them. I was like, "Dude, I'm just a regular dude. I'm just a regular guy. I'm nobody special. You know what I mean? I'm just a regular guy." If me calling you guys up as a special gift for your wedding day, that's a no-brainer. Of course I'm going to do that for you,
Yeah.
And they sent me all kinds of photos from their wedding and everything.
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It lends itself to who you are as a person, man. I mean, I get that too. You'll have someone come on and say, "Hey, man, I watched your show and I wanted to talk about all the experiences I've had in my life and just finally get it off my chest." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go, man. Sure." And, and I'm sure, people who run across these things in the forest, sometimes they don't know who to turn to. No. And they can turn to people like yourself, Jody Cook, and many other people out there that we have that in the inner circles that we know are good people, and we can kind of help them, either say what it is without feeling any type of retribution or any type of fear of someone like, pointing at them, or maybe like someone like yourself. There's been times where I've actually contacted you and say, "Hey, I've got this story and I want to know what it is I should do. And you're like, don't worry about it, buddy. I'm on it. And Al, like always, you're on it, buddy. And them calling you, it's like I said, it lends itself to the kind of guy you are, and that's pretty cool, buddy.
Yeah, I was so blown away by, like, they thought it was such a big deal, and I was like, dude, I'm a nobody, you know what I mean? If me making a phone call to you guys, it makes your day, then absolutely I could do it, because they were really, like, they were kids, you know what I mean? Like 18-year-old kids getting married, and I'm looking at them, and I can see the young love and everything.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I remember those days. I've been there, done that. Yeah. They're very happily married, and they're in love, and it's just a beautiful thing, you know.
It's a beautiful thing, like always, man. And just like always, when you come on here, it's a beautiful thing, buddy. I really appreciate that you take time out of your day, come and talk to me. You always connect me with people to have stories, and always help me out. Always been forthcoming with me, man. And I really appreciate that, Al. Thanks for
no problem.
Thanks for coming on and gracing the eye with your presence today, buddy.
No, all right, thank you for inviting me on. Like I said, I haven't really done a lot of the interviews lately. I've just been laying low, you know. So I'm just, you know, when you invited me on, I was like, sure, absolutely, I'd love to come on, you know, because I wanted to talk about that experience with that Dogman, you know, Serpentine, you know, and I can't get it out of my head. Like, it's just dumbfounding me, you know, like somebody taught or something taught this thing to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're partly human, and they have a, you know, human brain. They don't think like a normal wolf thinks. You know, they had a debate with somebody recently who was an animal person. And they said, oh, they're, you know, I study wolves, and they, you know, they're part wolf. They act like wolves, and I'm like, you're missing the point, bro. They're part human too, and they think like humans. You know what I mean? Yeah. Don't go into the woods expecting to track a wolf, because you will find out quickly that these things are tracking you.
Yeah, be careful when you go out there, guys. Be careful when you go out there. This is what these shows are about. That's what your society is about. That's what you do when you come on. We're into it. You know, Team Human. We're here to protect you guys. Enjoy the beauty that is America, but at the same time, you know, always check your six. Always check your six.
Yeah, like I tell everybody when you go into the woods, always protect yourself physically and always protect yourself spiritually, because there's so many things in the woods that you never know what you're going to come out with. You know what I mean? It may not be a cryptid. You know, you may not get attacked by a cryptid or a bear or a mountain lion, but you may get an attachment from something dark and negative, you know, so
could follow you home.
Be careful. Yeah.
Also, thank you again, buddy, and I'll see you around, buddy. Keep me informed, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom. It was
all right, guys. Yeah, like always, buddy. So, like, guys, once again, guys, we are the Eye. We are aware. Love you all, and have yourself a wonderful day.